We begin at 5 o'clock with breaking news and a deadly shooting in southwest Portland. It happened this afternoon in a commercial area off Southwest Barber Boulevard.
Right now, Barber remains closed between 30th Avenue and Alice Street. Let's get right to our Catherine Cook. Catherine, we understand you just talked to a witness there.
David and Laurel, I've spoken with several witnesses, including people who work at the Barber Square strip mall behind us. This is where it all happened around 2:45 this afternoon. We're still waiting for information from police and confirmation, but here's what witnesses had to say. They say 2 men are dead. They say this is a double homicide. At this point, one witness said that they saw an argument, potentially a robbery in progress, when the would-be victim pulled out a gun and fired. Again, we're waiting for police confirmation on that, but we also spoke with people who heard what happened, including one gentleman who works nearby. Here's what he had to say.
Everything just went kind of crazy up there for a minute, and I heard 2 gunshots. I was here in the shop working, and I heard 2 gunshots, and then it paused for a second, and then I heard like 5 or 6 more. It just emptied the whole clip out, and then that's when I think I saw a car leave.
And that is pretty much what we know at this hour. Again, we're waiting to hear from police. A public information officer just gave us an update, said he needs to talk with detectives to sort through information before giving us an official update. But what we do know, again, Laurel and David, is 2 men are dead. Back to you.
Thank you, Catherine, and we will continue to cover this breaking news as we learn more about what happened. Look for the latest updates here on air on KGW.com and on our social media pages and apps.
Meanwhile, another story we are following closely this evening, a walkout by Oregon Senate Republicans right as the chamber was set to take up bills on controversial issues that include gun reform and abortion. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. Both those bills have passed the House, but without enough lawmakers present, can't move forward right now. Our Tim Gordon joins us now from Salem. And Tim, we've seen this before.
Yeah, Laurel, right. You know, if you've been around a while, you know this is not the first time that the Republicans have walked out in recent years. This time, Republicans got out of here on the claim that the Senate isn't doing business legally. A standoff in the Senate. Most of Oregon's Republicans walked off the Senate floor on Wednesday, enough to block a quorum to do business.
They walked out today abandoning their duty to democracy and to the people of Oregon.
By midday, leaders from both parties were holding dueling news conferences. The Republican leader describing the walkout as a protest over the Senate president not following the rules and presenting bills in the Senate, suggesting with a gimmick the Ds are shredding the Oregon Constitution.
We can't have a state Senate that is run like a banana republic, as if the law doesn't matter.
Senator Tim Knopp points to a law from 1979 that requires bill summaries basically be readable to the average person. He claims that wasn't being followed. Republicans pulling it up just in time for bills on abortion rights and gun safety.
What they're doing is the most extreme bills in the country on this issue, and they want to enshrine them in the Constitution. When the public finds out what they've done, they're going to be upset.
Democrats are crying foul, saying the Republican minority is pulling the walkout in very bad faith.
The excuse that we had from Republicans for missing today's floor session are meritless.
This is yet just another one of the tricks that they're trying to use to slow down the process. And Oregonians deserve a functional democracy.
So will the Senate floor be void of Republicans tomorrow and the next day?
Well, we're not going to talk about our internal strategy.
One thing is for sure, Oregonians overwhelmingly voted to pass Measure 113 last year, which says legislators who miss 10 or more days in a session can't run for their seat the next time around. It sounds like Republicans may be willing to test the constitutionality of 113 with their walkout this session.
That law hasn't been constitutionally challenged yet, and there are many believe that, in fact, that isn't constitutional. So the only way to test that is to have people who have standing to challenge that law.
The Senate Democrats are going to be holding floor sessions regularly, with the expectation that our colleagues who are not excused will show up and do their duty as elected public servants.
So this is a pretty big mess. You heard there that some Republican senators may stay out long enough to take Measure 113 to court, but the Republican leader also told me that this is really about getting the attention of Oregonians all the way up to the governor. So we'll see if any behind-the-scenes negotiating pays off and the Senate can get back to work. We'll send it back to you in Portland.
They certainly are getting the attention. Tim Gordon in Salem, thank you. In other legislative news today, the right to rest bill is all but dead in Oregon. We previously reported the bill wasn't moving forward, but now a public hearing that was planned for this week is being scrapped too. As it's currently written, this proposal would allow people who are homeless to sue for $1,000 if they're harassed or told to move without anywhere else for them to go. The right to rest bill made national headlines at one point, and the people who backed the bill say they plan to reintroduce it in the future. One bill that is moving forward involves self-serve gas. The Oregon State Senate held a hearing on the bill yesterday. The proposal would require stations to offer both self-serve and full-serve options. Supporters say it gives people a choice and will help with staffing shortages. But opponents say they are simply trying to save jobs. The bill has already passed in the House.
This afternoon, Washington Governor Jay Inslee signed a bill that lowers the threshold for police officers to engage in high-speed pursuits. Let's get to Mike Benner in Clark County. So, Mike, what is changing? Break it down for us.
Well, David, instead of needing probable cause to pursue a suspect, all police need now is reasonable suspicion, and not to go after only people involved in serious crimes like murders. They can actually engage in vehicle pursuits of people suspected in vehicular assaults and things like domestic violence assaults. Washington Governor Jay Inslee signed Senate Bill 5352 just this afternoon, a couple of hours ago, in fact. In addition to what we already mentioned, this new law allows pursuits if a person in the car poses a serious risk of harm to others. All of this coming about 2 years after a Washington state law made it more difficult for police to engage in pursuits. This new law gives police, again, more freedom. But like any piece of legislation, there are a lot of people with a lot of different opinions. One Washington state representative is concerned about people dying in these pursuits, everyone from the person being pursued to even bystanders and officers themselves. On the flip side, though, people in law enforcement think this ultimately makes communities safer. Listen.
This is not something that we will use lightly. It's a tool that is essential, I think, for us, when we think about some of the increased crime rates and kind of increased appearance of crimes that we've seen, or heard from people. And so really, I think
it's worth mentioning this new law also requires more training for police officers when it comes to pursuits, as well as a plan to end the pursuits through intervention options like spike strips. Let's send it back to you.
Thank you, Mike. And in more Washington news, Governor Inslee has also called for a special session, meaning lawmakers will return to Olympia in less than 2 weeks. It's because the legislature was unable to reach an agreement on a new drug possession law during the regular session. This all stems from a 2021 state Supreme Court decision that threw out Washington's felony drug possession law. Lawmakers passed a temporary fix that year, but that expires on July 1st this summer. If they don't agree on a new law before then, drug possession would become legalized statewide. The special session starts May 16th and can last up to 30 days.
In Portland, police are taking a new approach to how they patrol downtown. Teams of about 4 officers or so have started foot patrols. Last month, Mayor Ted Wheeler ordered police to get out of their vehicles around Southwest 4th and Washington after a slew of overdoses and drug deals. Now, PPB says it is expanding those efforts outside the downtown core.
They're used to seeing us driving by in cars, and we're usually so busy just going from call to call to call. But when we can walk up and have a conversation with somebody and let them know, hey, we're not just out here, we're obviously trying to help the businesses and let them see us, but we're equally out here to try to help people, see what we can do for them.
And you saw KGW following a patrol earlier this week. We watched as officers confiscated a gun. They checked on several homeless people and arrested a man who tried to run from police and then crashed a car.
Developing tonight, an ex-FBI supervisory agent has been arrested in Oregon, accused of participating in the January 6th Capitol riot. Federal authorities say former agent Jared Wise repeatedly cheered on rioters who were attacking Capitol Police, yelling, "Kill them." Court documents also cited security video that showed Wise inside the Capitol building when a mob of Donald Trump supporters tried to disrupt certification of President Joe Biden's victory. According to the affidavit, Wise lived in Texas until the summer of 2022 before moving to Bend. He was arrested this week on misdemeanor charges, including entering a restricted building.